And now we have this document that's just been released by the United States District Court, Southern District of Florida. It's entitled Superseding Indictment. The grand jury charges and lists all the charges. And it says this is a case involving the United States of America versus Donald J. Trump, Walt Nauta, and Carlos de Oliveira. So it's a significant development indeed, and there's a lot of information in this document. Andrew McCabe is still with us, the former deputy director of the FBI. What do you make of this latest allegation that the Trump team, that these three individuals specifically, tried to delete surveillance?
Something happened today inside a federal courthouse that instantly shifted the entire gravity of this investigation. A single document, released quietly, without warning, sent shockwaves through every legal circle, every newsroom, and every political war room in the country. And the explosive part isn't just what's written inside it, it's what those pages imply about decisions made behind the scenes. Decisions that may finally push this entire scandal past the point of no return. This new superseding indictment from the Southern District of Florida reads like the moment the ground finally cracked beneath the former president's legal defense. It names not just him, but two close associates, and outlines allegations that cut right to the heart of a much darker truth about what may have really unfolded at Mar-a-Lago. But the most staggering piece is buried in the middle of the document, a claim so bold, so destabilizing, that even seasoned legal analysts had to reread it twice. Because this time, the allegation isn't just about classified files sitting in boxes, it's about what those individuals might have done next. And if even part of this holds up, it becomes the kind of accusation that destroys plausible deniability altogether. But that wasn't the whole story. The new filing claim.
Well, this charge alleges not just that he knew what was in the boxes, but he was actively involved in trying to destroy evidence. The surveillance tapes, knowing they'd been subpoenaed, that he may have been, it's an allegation at this point, actively involved in coercing others, asking others to destroy that evidence. That is the very heart of obstruction of justice. And it's a very serious charge, and one that overall, in the overall context of all the problems he's facing, makes him look much more guilty.
The new filing claims that the former president's team, specifically three individuals named in the indictment, attempted to delete surveillance footage from a secure area after being told that investigators had subpoenaed it. Think about that. Not misplacing documents, not refusing to return something, but actively trying to eliminate digital evidence that had been formally requested by law enforcement. And before anyone says, well, that's just another accusation, understand the gravity here. Tampering with subpoenaed evidence is one of the clearest, most unforgiving definitions of obstruction in the entire legal system. It's the sort of allegation that doesn't just weaken a defense, it collapses it from the inside out. Former FBI officials have said openly that if this allegation is accurate, it undercuts every argument his attorneys have been making for nearly 3 years. No more claiming confusion. No more arguing ignorance. This goes from, I didn't realize I had those documents, to, I allegedly participated in trying to erase evidence about them. And that distinction is devastating. But the truth is, this entire scandal was already far more serious than almost anyone realized, which is why the attempt to delete footage is only one piece of a much bigger story unfolding. Because before any debates about obstruction came into play, investigators were already dealing with something that kept senior national security officials awake at night: the sheer nature of the classified material taken from the White House in the first place. These weren't old schedules or routine memos. According to reporting and court filings, the files involved some of the most sensitive national secrets in existence, including information related to nuclear capabilities, military strategies, and intelligence sources, sensitive enough that even revealing the category they fall under could endanger lives. And where were they found? Not in a secure government facility, not in a restricted archive, but inside a bathroom, a ballroom storage room, and boxes left sitting near pool equipment at a private club where members, and allegedly foreign nationals, had previously been caught trying to get inside. Anyone who understands intelligence knows exactly how catastrophic that is, because a file sitting on a desk inside the White House is a national asset. A file sitting in a storage room at a beach resort is an international target. But the chain of events that led the FBI to go beyond voluntary requests and execute a search warrant wasn't sudden. It escalated step by step. First, investigators asked politely for the documents back. Then, a subpoena was issued. Then, attorneys for the former president claimed everything had been returned. Then, according to the DOJ, evidence surfaced showing boxes being moved. And that is when federal investigators became convinced that classified materials were intentionally being kept away from them. That's what triggered the full-scale search, and that search uncovered far more sensitive material than anyone had anticipated. But even that wasn't the end of the story. Because while the legal back and forth continued in courtrooms throughout 2023, 2024, and 2025, something much larger was forming behind closed doors, something that only a handful of people in Washington knew about until recently. A sealed final report, written by Special Counsel Jack Smith, was completed in late 2025. A report containing every piece of evidence collected, every conclusion reached, every unanswered question resolved. And here's the part that should concern everyone. Smith privately told members of Congress that he holds proof beyond a reasonable doubt that serious felonies were committed. That is the threshold needed to convict someone at trial, not speculation, not theory, the legal standard itself. Yet despite that, the case never reached a courtroom. Why? Because the former president's legal team filed an extraordinary request in early 2026. They asked Judge Aileen Cannon to seal the final report indefinitely, preventing Congress, journalists, and the American public from ever seeing what it contains. That alone raises a question that hangs over everything else. What could possibly be inside that report that must remain hidden? There are rumors, always framed as rumors, that the report includes details far more damaging than anything publicly released so far. Some say it outlines specific intelligence vulnerabilities created by the mishandled documents. Others believe it contains interviews or evidence implicating individuals still serving in powerful positions. None of that is confirmed, but the secrecy only fuels speculation, and secrecy this intense always comes at a cost. The political fallout is already enormous. Every few months, new filings, leaked memos, or emerging details throw this scandal back into the spotlight. It overshadows policy conversations, disrupts diplomatic negotiations, and creates constant uncertainty. Foreign allies are already uneasy. How do intelligence partners like the UK or Israel fully trust an administration that allowed the nation's most sensitive secrets to wind up beside pool supplies? How do they share classified information when they're wondering whether it might sit in an unsecured box again? That is the kind of concern that doesn't fade. It lingers, growing heavier with every news cycle. Meanwhile, public opinion has shifted in a stark way. Polls show a clear majority of Americans, across party lines, believe the document scandal represents a serious breach of national security. Many Republicans admit privately that the situation is troubling, even if they can't say so publicly without risking political backlash. And the comparison with past cases makes everything worse. A Navy sailor who took photos inside a submarine was sentenced to a year in prison. An Air National Guard member who leaked documents online faces decades. Numerous lower-level officials have lost their careers or faced prosecution for mishandling a fraction of what was recovered at Mar-a-Lago. Yet the former president is campaigning again as though the entire controversy is just background noise. People notice that, and the frustration keeps building. Which brings us to the most uncomfortable question of all. What happens next? Even without a trial, even without a conviction, this scandal sits like a storm cloud over the second term. Every national security decision he makes is viewed through the lens of the document case. Every criticism he launches at foreign adversaries is mocked with the same question. Yeah, but what about the boxes? It undercuts authority in subtle but devastating ways. It gives political opponents unlimited ammunition. It creates doubt among international partners. And it fuels internal whisper networks, quiet conversations in hallways where aides and lawmakers wonder how much longer this can realistically be sustained. Some insiders, always anonymously, say that resignation scenarios are not impossible, not imminent, but not unthinkable either. Not because of political pressure, but because the sealed report could at any moment become too damaging to contain. And everyone in Washington understands one universal truth. Nothing stays secret forever. If even a portion of that report leaks, the political landscape could change overnight. The calls for accountability could accelerate. The alliances holding him up could fracture, and the slow, steady drip of scandal could suddenly become a flood. This is why the documents case isn't just another headline. It's not a tweet controversy. It's not a debate about rhetoric. This is a national security question at its core, a question about whether the United States can protect its own intelligence when the person entrusted with it allegedly took it, stored it improperly, and then, according to prosecutors, may have tried to erase evidence. And until that question is resolved, none of this goes away. The classified documents still exist. The evidence hasn't vanished. The conclusions reached by investigators are still sitting inside a locked report. And eventually, whether next month, next year, or in some unexpected leak, the truth will come out. And when it does, the consequences will ripple far beyond one man or one administration. This is only the beginning. And the next phase could be even more explosive. If you want to stay ahead of the next major update in this unfolding story, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications. Because the moment that sealed report cracks open, even slightly, you'll want to be the first to know.